Well, the Seahawks had a nice, relaxing weekend off. They earned it after picking up a big win on Thursday Night Football. Now they turn their attention to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming up this weekend. We get a chance to speak to a member of this defense, Dave. I know you and I were both very excited to see him back out there and just wreaking havoc. 2 sacks in that game against the Arizona Cardinals. We're talking about Uchenna Nwosu with us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. How are you, man?
I'm doing good.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, and congrats on that game. That had to feel like, okay, I'm finding my rhythm. Dave, my co-host here, played in the league for almost a decade, and he always talked about, yeah, you can be in the best shape of your life, but if you're not out there playing, you're not in football shape, and it takes a while to, the hits and that conditioning. Where are you at with that part of it?
I'm still coming along with it, man. Like, I didn't have any training camp or any off-season training, spring training, so, like, I feel like my body's still kind of working its way back into it, but I should be back in no time.
Uchenna, how do you deal with just the frustration? I know there's nothing more frustrating than being hurt and not being out there with your guys. What kind of got you through those dark periods?
Just knowing that, I can play. Just having in the back of my mind that I'll be back, and I'll be able to go out there and play again. That's what I just leaned on to, is just staying positive and looking towards the future. Just being happy that I'm able to come back and, be a part of the team.
Do you gain a little different perspective when you're on the sidelines watching it and kind of watching the defense going, you know what, if I were out there, I'd do this, or I see this now from this angle? Do you get a different perspective that you sort of apply when you do get out there on the field?
Yeah, definitely. When you're on the field, sometimes you're kind of locked into your keys. You're trying not to look at too many things, but when you're on the side, watching, you can things kind of slow down a little bit, and you can see the formations and see what offenses do, and pick up little tells quicker. So it's definitely a difference. But
Uchenna, tell us about your style, your pass rush style. I know you got D Hall looks like he's just like pure power, and then Boye more of a kind of a nifty, has a lot of pass rush moves. What would you say is your best asset, and how do you kind of set up an offensive tackle or guard as the game goes on?
Yeah, I definitely say my style is a little mixture of both. I definitely have power. I definitely have a little bit of finesse and quick quick moves. So I like to say I'm a little combination of both. And I just like to keep the tackle on their heels. Maybe start a half, I might show them one thing and then switch it up to the second half. But definitely try to keep the tackle on their toes.
Uchenna, we talked a lot about this defense in the second half of last season. This was a top 5 defense, and we talked about the fact that there wasn't a ton of change. There's certainly the scheme is the same, the coaches are the same, as opposed to the offense where you got new quarterback and receivers and scheme. So it felt like the defense would hit the ground running, and it feels like they have. Does it feel to you that it's where it was in the second half of last season, or do you feel like there's still steps to take to get there?
Yeah, definitely. We, being second year in this defense for all of us, we're definitely, I guess, more ahead, more, familiar, and it definitely shows. We're more confident. We know what kind of guys we have, but also there's still a lot to learn on that, and still more to keep growing on. And we're only going to keep getting better from here.
Uchenna, who are some of the big personalities on that defense? You seem like kind of a quiet guy, but maybe not. But, who are some of the guys that you hear from the most and kind of exemplify what this defense is about?
Yeah, there's a lot of personalities on this defense. Everybody's a little different. You got guys who are like silent assassins, like, myself and EJ, but you got guys who are loud assassins like, Spoon or like D Hall, like guys that just know, they're gonna talk mess to your face and, show it to you on the field, which is good to have a mix of all those personalities.
You bring up Ernest Jones, and we've had a chance to speak to him a number of times, and first of all, it just seems like a great guy, but it really seemed like this defense last year turned a corner when he got here, and I don't want to put it all on him that he was the reason the defense became what it became. But can you talk about just his impact and what he brings to this defense?
Yeah, he's just a good leader. He just brings a lot of maturity and a lot of calmness to the defense. He studies a lot of football too, so he's a step ahead of all the plays that he knows what's coming. He's like having Mike Macdonald on the field. Him and Mike talk all the time, and they're in great communication with each other. So when EJ's on the field, he knows what's coming. He knows what Mike's thinking, and he knows he's a step ahead, and he just keeps everybody together.
Do you think you could have, if you had that green dot, somebody talking to you while you're getting lined up and everything? I mean, I know it shuts off at one point, but I think that might drive me crazy. What about you?
Yeah, the green dot is not easy because you have to get the call. It's loud, especially when we're on defense at home. It's loud. You got to spit the play to everybody. Then you got to line up and read your keys. Then you got to run. And you're tired. And then you got to get the play out. I knew I wouldn't be able to do it. So credit to EJ, man. You got to be strong to play that position mentally.
How tough is that? We've talked to a number of defensive players out there who say, you can't hear a thing, even you're screaming to the guy next to you when you're at home on defense, but that it's worth it because of what it does to the opposing offense. Is it that hard to hear? Do you feel like you're standing right next to somebody and they can't hear you screaming?
Definitely. It's very hard to hear, especially, the 12s. You guys been out there. They're so loud, and, especially when we get to that third down, they start going nuts. So it'd be hard to hear sometimes, but that's why we got to get in that huddle, get the call, get EJ, listen to EJ, and, go line up and do our thing.
It's a good payoff with the adrenaline you get from all the noise, right? I mean, that's
definitely.
Yeah. Hey, what during your week off, or it's not really a week off, you had the weekend off. Are you watching football? Are you watching like Red Zone or anything like that? Or are you just entirely getting away from football?
No, I'm watching ball, of course. Of course I'm watching ball. I don't have the Red Zone because, I usually play on Sundays, so it'll be pointless for me to have it. But I try to catch games when I can. I saw a couple games yesterday.
Who do you like watching? Is there a player or a team where you're like, all right, I'm interested in the way these guys play?
Usually I like watching teams I know that got good defense and good defensive line. I love, good rushers and, good defensive line play and good defense in general. So that's what I like to see. I like to see a good defensive battle.
Yeah, I like the 6-3 games as well. I don't like those high-scoring games.
I don't like them.
Yeah. What about as far as just a pass rusher, an individual? Is there somebody out there that that you admire their game and just watch and maybe try to emulate a little bit, or what do you think?
I mean, I watch everybody around the league. A lot of guys, you can always learn from everybody around the league. I like how Brian Burns is rushing because he's like so bendy and so long. But I also watch Hassan Reddick. He's more of my body type, and just guys all over the league. Yesterday there were some great rushers. Micah was on the field. I think James Houston got a couple sacks out there. Like, there's good rushers everywhere. Baltimore has, good rushers. So I just like watching good rushers all over, even interior guys.
Uchenna, I know it's just Monday. It's just the beginning of the week. But have you had a chance to take a peek at what Tampa Bay brings to the table, what you might be facing there? Yeah,
definitely. I've been watching their games and definitely been studying them. I'm ready for the challenge. They got a good team. They got good receivers. They got good running backs. Baker's playing good. And they got good defensive players, so it'll be another tough battle for us, and we'll be ready.
Well, we're looking forward to it, and it's great to see you out there, seeing number 7 back out there on the field, just wreaking havoc against opposing offenses, and hopefully we see that against the Bucs this coming weekend. Uchenna, always great to talk to you, man. Thanks so much for taking the time, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you, guys.